Well, hello! So if you watched my first KonMari method video, I mentioned that I had already done the clothes and I'd already done the books and CDs and DVDs before I started making videos. And I was happy with my piles. I got rid of about half my wardrobe, didn't get rid of as many of the DVDs and CDs. Sorry for the noises in the background, everyone's home, so there may be some interruptions. But I had gone through all the books, I'd made my Purge piles and was getting rid of them. But I started the other day looking at my shelves and I just wasn't satisfied. I thought I'd done a pretty good job, I thought I'd gotten rid of everything, but I started to wonder if maybe I could do better. And here's my confession. I didn't strictly follow the method. My way that I did the books was I went through all the places that we have our books, and they're scattered throughout the house. This is one area, I'll show you the others shortly. But I just went through each of the tiles. I did touch each book, but I didn't take them all on the ground. I just pulled out ones that didn't inspire joy and that I was going to get rid of. And that's how I did it. And I got rid of, a lot of them have already been to the thrift store. We were waiting for a second trip. So I got rid of, there's this pile and there was another one probably about twice the size of this one that already has gone to the thrift store. And it was kids' books and my books. I did not touch any of my husband's books because he'd made it clear that he was not wanting to get rid of any of his books, and that's been his stance for the past few years now. So those are the books that we got rid of. But I looked back over here and there are just so many books that I'm not sure that we really will reference again. Look at all those books, and these are just the bulk of our nonfiction and reference books. A little bit of an explanation. I am a minister by trade, and so I have a lot of books that I use for reference for writing sermons, for planning Bible studies, etc., etc. So those are books that I may not reference regularly. I almost certainly won't read them for fun, but they're things I do need to hang on to. These books, when I was working at a church, were in my office, but now that I'm at home on family leave, I no longer have a place to put them other than at home. So we do have more books than the average household probably because of that. But I don't know that I need all of them. So my plan is to actually do the method right this time. I'm going to make my piles. I'm also going to make a pile of all of my husband's books because he hasn't touched most of these books since I've known him, probably, honestly. We've been together over 10 years, and I don't know that I've seen him read these books. He hasn't read a book, period, in a couple of years. So they may all still be staying because he's stubborn, but some of them may go. But these are all of my husband's reference books and the bulk of mine. I also have some places upstairs where I have some of my religion books, the ones that are most frequently used, some of my favorites, and I'll show you those. And we also have a bookshelf in what we call the front room at the front of the house, very original, that houses all of our fiction. I have gotten rid of, just over the years, I've gotten rid of most of my fiction that I have because I am a very heavy book consumer. And so that I don't read us out of house and home, I use the library. And I do a lot of ebooks in the library. I don't like paying for books if I can avoid it. So I read a lot. I'm on my 51st book for 2015, and it's not even through May yet. So that kind of gives you an indication of how much I read, even with 2 young kids. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you I will show you the fiction shelf now. But this, so you get a gander, is the before. And there won't be as much talking when I show you the other one. Sorry for kind of rattling on like this. All right, let's go. Okay, so now I'm in the front room. My 4-year-old is here playing video games, so that's what the noise you'll hear in the background is. But this is our fiction bookcase. It's just a bookshelf from Target. Pretty packed full, but not completely. As I said, I got rid of most of my fiction books, so these are only the books that I reread on a regular basis. These are my favorites, as well as my husband's books. So the only books that I've bought, and I always try and buy used books, or some of these were gifts from my mother-in-law. She did, because we both love the Outlander series. But these I recently bought, from the Earth's Children series. I'm still looking for the rest of them, but I get them at used bookstores. And you can see I have my favorite authors. My husband has his favorite authors. So I don't know that many are going to leave from this shelf. because it's already pretty whittled down, but we'll see what happens. So next stop is upstairs for the ones that, the other religion books that are up there. So, one second. Alright, so the other place we have books, and this is kind of unfortunate that this is where they are, but it's in our master bedroom. Now, the reason for this, we did have this big bookshelf right here in our office that then became an office/playroom, and then became a playroom/office, which is now basically just a playroom. So we didn't really have enough room for that bookcase to be in there anymore when we just recently redid everything in there. So currently, all of my books that were in there are in here. We actually used to have 2 bookcases in there, so we consolidated and got rid of a lot, but this one still is full. Also, this bookcase has been in here, and this is, I'll just go through quickly. We have up here are my books to read, also some pictures that I need to hang on the wall, so those are just stuck there for now because that's how it happens in our house. So we have my books to read, and that just recently I went through, because I already did purge all these books once, as I said. So some of these books were elsewhere in the house on bookshelves, and I consolidated them all here. I need to put a time limit on this to see if I haven't read it by then, get rid of it. But those are currently my to read. These are the parenting books that I've kept. I purged about half of them, but those are all the parenting books. And then down here are my husband's to read books. And here comes my youngest one, traipsing through. Hello. But he hasn't read a book in probably 2 years, maybe 3. So I don't know if he'll let me get rid of any of them. Again, all of this is unsure whether he will agree to get rid of any of his books, but that's his to read area. Over here, this is where the rest of my religion books are. So there are a lot of frequently consulted ones, especially for sermon prep or just things that my areas of expertise. Those are all on this shelf because they were up in the office so that I could reference them for sermons. I've got some old disciplines there that my in-laws have found at thrift stores. Some of my favorite books. That these I've gone through several times, and these I'm positive there's not going to be any culling from here because I already did that and it was hard, and I can't get rid of any of these others, I don't think. We'll see. I may push myself on it. I also have a interpreter's Bible that is used for preaching that I got for $10 at a library book sale. These things go for hundreds of dollars, so that was a huge find. Even though it's the older set, it's still good and still useful. So that will definitely be staying, as well as the complete works of John Wesley right there that my in-laws, I believe my in-laws found that for me. I don't think I was there when they found that at a book sale. As well as just some other things and godly play resources, my manual for writers for Chicago style, for Turabian style. So that's all definitely staying. And then down here I have some candidacy stuff for ordination. This is all of my college notes from classes that I've kept. I do want to keep that. And my youngest one is singing, so there's that. And then, sorry y'all, sorry. And then this is all of my Hebrew and Greek work, which I will be, yeah, you're singing, huh? Which I will be keeping because it's mostly for reference when I'm doing study that I need to brush up on that. So there's one other area in the bedroom that has some religion books, so I'm going to go over there right quick. Just hold on one second. So this is on the other side of the bedroom. We have this little console table here. It's mostly my husband's stuff. We've got our records there, and this is some office supplies that ended up here. Yeah. But this is where I keep all of my Bibles and more reference sort of stuff. So I have little books on world religions there as Bible maps, Religion A to Z, all just reference stuff, and again, stuff that I need for creating Bible studies, writing sermons. Unfortunately, since I don't have an office now, as I've said, it's stuff that I need to keep here. Over here, this top shelf is basically Bibles and different books of Scripture, different types of Scripture, some non-canonical, as well as my Dictionary of Religions that I was given as a book award in college. And then down here, I have a Greek and Hebrew Testament, some more Bibles, Book of Common Prayer, the current Book of Discipline and Book of Resolutions, as well as a hymnal and Book of Worship. All of these are referenced readily. and then an extreme A to Z finding in the Bible that I got when I was a teenager, and it's totally written for teenagers, but it's actually still quite useful for finding things, and a Bible dictionary. So yeah, all of this I am positive will be keeping because I do reference it regularly. So let's go back downstairs and start making our piles. I wanted to share just briefly the books in my son's rooms. This is where all of our kids' books are in their rooms. I already went through these when I did my first purge. I'm not going to be going through these again because it was hard enough to get rid of some as it was. So we have, these are just books that I have shelves that I have my husband make to mount on the wall in my oldest son's room. And then we also have an overflow basket right there. Those are all dinosaur books, mostly nonfiction books. The house is kind of a mess right now because I still have laundry to put away, so quickly skim over his messy bed. Then we have some others over here. They're also mixed in with toys, but we have some pop-up books on the bottom there, miscellaneous and more extra dinosaur books over there. Some of the books from when he was younger that he's held on to right there, and then library books are right there. We just returned a bunch. So that is in my oldest son's room. Let me show you briefly in the nursery. Okay, so here we are in the nursery. The top shelf here, this is a bookcase that my husband built. It was his first bit of woodworking that he did. It was wonderful. So the top shelf is all board books. So those are all board books. And then the bottom, it's some larger board books, but also our Dr. Seuss and various other more picture book style. So these, again, I went through them in the first purge, and I'm not going to be going through them again. We read a lot, and I love my kids to have a love of books. My 4-year-old just started reading this year, and so I want to always have them available. So we are not going to be decreasing this stash anymore because we do read them, just not all the same day. So now to the ones that we are going to be going through. Let's get started. Okay, so here we go. A bunch of books on the floor. I'll go you through quickly how I have them separated. These right here are my nonfiction but non-religion. Over here we have, these are all my husband's nonfiction books. So we'll see if I'll be able to get him to go through any of that. And then I built myself a little semicircle of my religion books. Yeah, I can definitely pare this down some because that's a lot. So here are this is the shelves that they came from. You see a lone Nerf dart there because I have a 4-year-old. Alright, so let's get sorting. Alright, so I had planned on doing the time lapse for my sorting, but just as I finished recording that last bit, my youngest son woke up from his nap and was just running and getting all over everything, so it was a very interrupted sort. It took a lot longer than planned, and there was a lot of me not there as I was tending to him, so I decided to just ditch that whole part and show you the after. So here are my piles right here that were my non-religious nonfiction, mine, not my husband's. On the left here, these are all the ones that are going. There are several books that I'd held on to for years because they were autographed, but they are really books I did not care about at all. Mostly ones that my dad had gotten from friends that he knew. He knew Newt Gingrich and Bob Rich, I think is the name of the fishing guy. But I held on to those books for a long time for no reason. So over here now on this side are the books that I am keeping that are the non-religious nonfiction. Sorry for the very torn up cat curl in the back, but we have 2 cats and they like it. So, remember my religion semicircle? It is now down to this line. So still a fair amount, but as I said, I used them for reference. I kept especially a lot of church history books and theology books because those are some of my weaker areas that I need to reference more often. So these are the ones that I'm keeping, and this big tower right here, that's going to go. So I'm pretty happy with that. Because remember, I've already gone through all these books once. So I already did a purge. So this is my second purge. And I got all of these books already gone. So next step will be seeing if I can get my husband to go through and weed this out a little bit. It may be a while. I may not get to show piles. But we'll see if I can get him to do it. So, wish me luck. Bye for now. So this actually went better than I thought. Before I called my husband in, I sorted all of them into categories with all of his sailing books down there, some of his favorite authors that I knew he wasn't going to get rid of, and I put all the ones that I thought he should get rid of in this stack. And he made a deal with me that if I didn't touch this stack of maybes, he would get rid of all these. So those books are all going, so let me get the ones up on the shelf and put all of the Purge books together, and I'll do a final shot for you of our nonfiction. Okay, so here's how things are looking with all the keepers back on the shelf. It's a little bit barer, and actually there are some books in that bookshelf in the front room that I showed in the beginning of the video that are actually nonfiction, but I put with the fiction just because they flowed better and there wasn't room on our nonfiction shelf. So in just a second, I am going to put those on there and show you how that looks. I know we're keeping all of those because they are some of my husband's favorites. So even when I do the fiction purge, those will still be staying. And here are all the ones from this purge that are going away. So all those stacks, keeping in mind this is the secondary purge. And if you look over here, there's that initial stack, and there would have been 2 others just like it. All the books so far in this purge, and we haven't even gone through the rest of the bookshelves. So hold on one second, and I will show the finished look when I get the other books onto this shelf over here. So hold on just one second. Okay, so here is our finished nonfiction area. So up there. Looking much less crowded. Down here you've probably gotten a glimpse of some books. Those are just guitar books, and then our CD collection and our DVD collection are in those 2 black ones. So there we go. Now on to fiction, I guess. Through the magic of video editing, we are now on day 2 of the book purge. I went ahead and took all of the nonfiction books to the Goodwill last night, and I am ready to start on my fiction shelf. There just wasn't enough time last night to get it all done. So now I'm going to go ahead and get all these out. I'm going to divide them in piles of mine versus my husband. On this shelf, I really don't expect to see much of my husband's stuff go, but we'll give it a shot. So hold on one second. Let me get it all set up. Okay, so here is the finished stack of what I'm purging from our fiction shelf. My husband did manage to part with, looks like 2, so that's something. And here is the completed bookshelf post-purge. I'm leaving more space up here because that's where the rest of the Earth Children's books will go once I eventually finish it. But it looks a lot nicer. Things aren't crammed in. I did decide to live dangerously and go ahead and move the bottom 2 shelves books back towards the front. We always push them back when the kids are younger because they tend to get into them. But now my 1-year-old is big enough that it doesn't matter what we do with them. He still carries them around. So there we go. There is nothing else downstairs that needs to be gone through. So the next bit will be my upstairs with the rest of my religion nonfiction books. I reached a decision about my little corner of books here in the master bedroom. They're all staying. Now I know that kind of goes against the purge, but I already did the initial purge, and about half the books that I purged were from these 2 shelves. At that time I got rid of half of my parenting books that I had, so it was all the way over to here, but I got rid of half of those. These are the ones that I do reference or enjoy that I do want to keep for now. I decided I'm going to set a limit for this shelf. I'm giving myself until the end of 2015 to read all of these books. If they haven't been read by then they're going to be donated. And my husband won't let me touch any of those books. So this shelf is all staying, absolutely. So this one over here, These top two shelves are my frequently referenced books. So they really, I'd already, when I did my initial purge, I already went through, I took some of these books and put them downstairs, so there is a little bit more room. Some of them I moved to different areas, but these right here, these are kind of the heart of the ones that I use to study for my sermons, to study for Bible studies I'm creating. They're ones that I either frequently reference or just books that I really enjoy. So these are all staying. And this shelf right here, my new, got to figure out this zoom better, sorry about that. This new interpreters, those are all staying because those are heavily referenced whenever I'm writing a sermon. This shelf, same sort of thing. I'm still in the ordination process in that I am provisional. I'm not in full connection. And so I will need, when I'm doing my final ordination papers, round 2, I will need my complete works of John Wesley, definitely, as well as it's just something every Methodist should have, in my opinion. Same thing, I do use these over here. And so they're more practical sorts of things. So they are staying as well. And this bottom shelf, this is all old school work that I still reference, especially when I'm doing Bible studies, and my Greek and Hebrew, as already discussed. That's all staying just for pure reference. Same thing with the shelf on the other side of the room. All of my Bibles and reference, those are all things that I really do need to keep. So this room is not getting the full KonMari treatment as far as the books go because I already got rid of the only things that would be going in my initial purge. So cheating perhaps, but I'm just going to be honest that these are all staying. So there we go. Okay, so the final element of this category is magazines. Now, we don't get any magazine subscriptions currently, and the reason that we don't is because I never read them. I used to read them back before kids, when I was just in, I think mostly when I was in college. I don't think I even read them once I was in grad school because there just wasn't time. But I loved magazines, certain ones, and I continued to get subscriptions for them for a while, but rather than read them, I would put them in my kitchen cabinet. Why the kitchen cabinet? I don't know, but it was out of sight, out of mind, and this happened. So I didn't touch them during the first time I did the purge. Honestly, I just didn't think about it. I was focused on moving on to the next thing. So I got them all out, and I know that for the KonMari method, you're supposed to not go through them. You're supposed to just pick them up and make a decision, but that's not how I operate with magazines because I had saved these all these time. And so I spent the past week, whenever I had time, going through them. There are 37 magazines with the end goal of getting rid of every single one of them. So all of these are going in the recycling. I do have a stack of some recipes that I tore out that will be dealt with when I go through paper and go through my recipe books. There's a lot of paper involved in that. But all of these are going to the recycling. I'm not getting any more magazine subscriptions. We are officially a magazine-free house, and I'm pretty happy about that. So all in all, this section, my redo of it, was very productive. Obviously, the biggest differences, other than the magazines, those were, again, out of sight, so I never really thought about them. The biggest differences are with my nonfiction downstairs shelf and the fiction shelf. In part, the fiction shelf, not as much because of purging, but also just because of moving things over to the nonfiction shelf that there's now room for, that should have gone there to begin with. So I'm really glad that I decided to revisit this category. I hope that this was fun to watch. I know it was more disjointed than some of my other videos because we do have books all over the place, and I wanted to preserve those categories. I know that some people will be disappointed I didn't touch the books that are up in our bedroom, but the point is to keep those that do inspire joy in you, and those all do. So it would have been false for me to try and force myself to purge them just for the point of the video. So stay tuned for more of all sorts of videos. If you enjoy this video, please like down below, hit subscribe to see more. I've got several other types of videos in the pipeworks here, so stay tuned and thank you so much for watching. Bye.